Welcome to the Turaco Creative Cast. This is Frank Salazar, aka Captain Gagos, and we have a special guest today, Javier Hernandez. And you might know I am short a co-host. Anna Raub, aka MASKUP, couldn't make it. She's just got a lot of stuff going on at home, a lot of her own projects, so she's not gonna make it tonight. Maybe later if she frees up, it gets freed up. But we'll see. But we're still gonna have a good time, and we're gonna talk comics and a whole bunch of other stuff. So here we are with Javier Hernandez. Uh, I gotta go into my spiel. You can find me at Salazar Art Nation when I'm not on the Turaco Creative Cast. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. You can find Anna Raub at Anna Raub on her YouTube channel. She just got to 109 subscribers. That was our goal to get her to 100 subscribers, and she surpassed that. So great job to Anna. And there's links in the description below where you can find all our stuff. And Javi, what about you? Where can we find your stuff?
Right now, they can find me right there on their screen at home or on their portable device. But I'm on Instagram quite a bit, like everybody else, at Javier Los Comics.
Okay.
Javier LOSCOMEX. Instagram, so I'm always updating pretty much a couple times a day what I'm working on as far as artwork or sharing something like a comic or a book or a movie I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a cat, so you don't see cat pictures from me. So yeah, Instagram, you can go to Los Comics. No, not I'm sorry, Havzilla.com. That's my old blog site.
Oh, okay.
And on the right hand side of let me go there, there's all the links for like the different social networks I'm on, so that way I don't have to list them all here. But Instagram seems to be pretty common that everybody likes to use. So
okay. And there is a link tree there for Javi stuff, so you can go check that out. That's also in the description.
Perfect, thanks.
And we got Peter Palmieri, Uncle Javi.
I know Peter for years, just online.
Hey.
It's amazing how. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, oh boy, yeah. This goes back to these old podcasts, the early days of the Talk Shoe podcast with the several different cartoonists. There was a whole network of that. Anyway, that's old history, but that's all I know, Peter.
Yeah, that actually I got to make sure I got the right window open because I did have a question that someone asked, and I think it has to do with a podcast.
Oh, already? Okay.
So I would just ask it now. This is from Jim Lujan, and he said, "When is Planet Comic Book Radio coming back?"
Well, Mr. Jim Lujan, boy, he must have woke up out of a 10-year-old sleep. Yeah, I have not done that. I know Jim's a dear friend. I have not done Planet Comic Book Radio in probably 10 years. It was a podcast I did. I used to be a board member of the New Vein Foundation. I'm here based out in Los Angeles. So it was a small little group, nonprofit, real community-based. They were very much into promoting arts, literacy, and culture. So, I got involved with them. And one of the things we did there, like, they had me start doing a podcast out of their offices, like pop culture. Well, actually, comic books. I told them I'm just really focused on comics. So that was a weekly radio show, well, podcast show, but it was also, I don't know, I guess radio back then. Planet Comic Book Radio. My biggest claim to fame on that show was I interviewed Peter Hernandez, the old voice actor and director of the Speed Racer cartoon. From the 60s, Japanese one.
Wow.
It came over to the U.S. and Peter Hernandez was in charge of writing the English scripts, and then he was the voice of Speed Racer, and so that was a big get for me to have. It was like childhood a dream, and he's passed away since, but he was such a nice guy to talk to. Yeah. So Jim, I don't know, it's probably never coming back, Planet Comic Book Radio, but thanks for asking.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Actually, I didn't know about that. And we have Cuentos y Comics in the chats, and they say salutations. It's good to have you here, Cuentos y Comics.
Yes, another interview show out there interviewing Latino creatives.
Cool. And that is we talked about this earlier. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because you are someone that's big in the Hispanic comics community. So I wanted to have that on so other people can see that, because I only found out. I think I followed you for on Instagram for a while, but I didn't know who you were. I just like people were popping up.
Yeah.
So like, oh, it's cool, cool. It's add, follow.
Yeah.
uh, but it wasn't until you were on the Artcasters with Joshua Kimball and Scott Serkland,
Oh,
and
yes.
just listening to you talk, you're like, wow, like, this is a cool dude.
Yeah, yeah. And Josh
Um,
Campbell, I knew from those old podcast days I told you about.
yeah.
We called it Talk Shoe. Talk Shoe was the server. So, like
Okay.
StreamYard, it was called Talk Shoe.
Yeah.
It was one. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Yeah, I
Wow,
don't
I
think it's
didn't
still
know.
all the
Yeah.
episodes are gone, unfortunately. Everybody's episodes, but it was fun.
Oh man. Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame someone didn't archive those. So,
I know because all these but you know what? It's like when you talk with your friends at lunch. Like it was a great conversation, but like, well, no one recorded it, but hey, we had it.
yeah.
So you got to go have more conversations.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Keep talking, people.
Oh, we have Judd Goswick in the chat saying fun trivia. The English language voice actress for Trixie also voices Snuggles, the fabric softener bear.
Oh wow, that's a great piece of trivia. Thanks,
Wow,
Chad.
I didn't even know that. That's cool.
I
I
feel
didn't even know that was a woman.
I think it's yeah, Trixie. Yeah, Corrine. I think her first name was Corrine. But anyway, yeah.
Okay. All right. So talking about the first, how did you get into comics? Just like comics in general.
Oh, like I think like everybody else, you grew up reading them as a kid. My brother gave me a big old collection of comics that he didn't want anymore at the time. So it's like, dang, okay, just reading the same old comics over and over. Probably, I don't know, might have been 30 or 40 comics. Like, real
Cool.
prime. It wasn't the 60s. It was like 1969, 70, 71 era of Marvel. It was like the last Kirby. Actually, I have the last Kirby Fantastic Four that he did in that collection. And it was
Wow.
Neil Adams Batman. So anyway, stuff like that. And then eventually I just go start buying my own comics at the 7-Eleven back when comics were a quarter.
Yeah. Oh wow.
In the 70s. Yeah, go look that up, people. Well, that was just the love of comics right there, right from the beginning.
Yeah. Just loving comics. That's cool. That's pretty much how I think that is how like everyone starts, just as kids.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead. I didn't
Well,
want to interrupt.
nowadays, because I've been teaching comics for like, I don't know, 15 years. I notice a lot of the kids, if they're even into Marvel stuff, it's because they saw the movies.
Yeah.
Like they very rarely would know about comics or even look at comics. So yeah, that's different.
Yeah, and I know my kids, my boys. They'll ask me like, oh, can you draw me this character? And like, oh, cool. And I'm like, oh, how do you know about that? Like, oh, the movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can you draw me Shazam? Like, oh, because the movie looks cool. And then they know Spider-Man because like from all the shows, but it's from movies and shows and things like not actually reading the comics.
Right.
So that's when I come in and say like, well, check this out, read this.
Yep, the real thing.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And
When people ask, they go, "Do you do commissions?" And I pretty much say no. Because what's going to happen is they're going to want me to draw all these movie versions, and it's like I don't want to look that stuff up. And those terrible rooms are so unfun. They're all black and dark blue and dark gray, and they got so I just say no commissions.
Okay, cool. That is something that I was wondering about because eventually I want to get into like doing going to like cons and stuff, setting up a table. I don't know if my stuff is like mostly right now I'm just doing mini comics, but I'm gonna start doing bigger formats.
Right.
So I don't know, like, oh yeah, you wanna get some mini comics? I'll draw you my character, but like I don't want to be there for like 3 hours.
No, right.
drawing, and then drawing in person and drawing in private is two different things for me. Like I can show you, like, yeah, I did this, and that's like 2 hours, an hour to 2 hours of work,
Right.
and in person's like, I did this to figure.
Yeah. Commissions are a very particular thing. I got my fan going on here, but I'll turn it off. I'll start sweating like a pig, so it stays on. But yeah, commissions are a very particular thing because you're right. You got to be in a frame of mind when you're drawing, and you got to draw quick because you got other people in line.
Yeah.
So some people do a great job at it. A lot of people do, and a lot of people don't do it. So whatever.
Oh, cool. And I was gonna ask something. I'll just your comic. How did that come about? El Muerto.
Well, again, you read the comics enough, and you have drawing abilities. You probably eventually want to make your own comics. So, at one point in the '90s, I decided, hey, I want to actually self-publish, because by then self-publishing was such a big. Wow, look at that! Mysteriously arising from the tomb, the El Muerto graphic novel. Yes, thanks.
20th anniversary.
Yep, 2018, I think. Yeah. Yes, I wanted to do my own comics at the time, and I realized that self-publishing was, by then the Ninja Turtles were history. They were already well established. So self-publishing was definitely a viable thing.
Yeah.
So I just started, came up with this idea of this character, and I started.
Which I also have.
Oh, speaking of the Turtles, yeah, I mean those guys. That's
volume 1 of the originals. So.
Yep, can never talk enough about the impact that those Eastman and Laird had with their comics. So, yeah, and I wanted to do something back then, '98. I go, I'm gonna do my own thing. I can do whatever I want. It's my own comic, my own time, my money. And I wanted to do something representative of Mexican culture. So I came up with this idea of like using Day of the Dead folklore and Aztec mythology, and then somehow coming up with some type of story for that, which is what El Muerto is. It's about this young man. He's born on Day of the Dead, and on his 21st birthday, he gets killed in a car accident. Except he wakes up in the Aztec afterworld, and he confronted by the Aztec god of death, the god of destiny, and they basically sacrifice him to themselves, and then send him back to Earth a year later, and now he's transformed into this El Muerto character. But he's not doing their bidding. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show a little bit of the art. Like.
Oh yeah, page 1. Yeah. Yep. So that graphic novel Frank's showing there, that came out in 2018, but I started doing the comics in '98, and I was really slow. I did like 3 issues. Yeah, 20 years, '98 to 2018.
Wow.
So I did a couple of issues of that. I started doing other characters. I have other comics I've done. And then several years ago, I go, well, let me finish that last part of the story of the El Muerto story. It's been dragging on forever. And so I drew the last chapter, and I was going to collect all the comics in the book. But I go, you know what? Those early books written in, done in '98 and 2002, whatever, 2002, like the art doesn't match up to the new art. So I redrew those early issues. So the graphic novel that you have, it's all like fresh, brand new artwork from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What you have there is not the original El Muerto stories. I am going to put a collection out of the,
Then I don't want it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, you're getting a better story. You're getting better writing in that book. Wow. But I'm gonna take the old issues, put them in the classic collection or something.
Okay.
Yeah, because I people, this has been out of print forever, and so I want to see the original version of it. I want to see a really rough artwork. I go, all right, I think I'm mature enough that I can put it out. And all right, that was me 20 years ago or 25 years almost now.
Oh, we got another question in the chat. Is this Jim Lujan's friend Javier Hernandez?
Yes, from Love and Rockets, Jim. This is me. You're very lucky.
We had a couple of comments here that I kind of
please,
skipped over, but
I can't see them all here.
But Peter says, I think the very first comics I bought were 20 cents each.
Oh, about 19
and Dory says, I'd consider commissions to do a unique original piece. XOXO.
Yep.
Hugs and kisses. I'm translating for everyone. And when's the omnibus coming out?
Well, that's so the well, there'd be a classic collection of the original 3 issues. So again, hopefully next year. I do want to put out an omnibus now that he brought it up, because I have a lot of these
No.
little like El Muerto short stories, like 2-page,
Yeah.
3-page, 4-page, that have been. Some of them are humorous, some of them are kind of gag strips, some of them are autobiographical comics about me and El Muerto. So I figured I collect those because those don't really fit in with like the Days of the Dead graphic novel.
Yeah.
Storyline continuity, whatever. So there'll be another collection of all these omnibus, I guess we'll call it, just all the odd ends El Muerto stories. So
see what I have.
So in 2000, was it where we at 2021, 2023 will be the 25th anniversary of El Muerto. So that's 2 years away from now. So trying to get those 2 books in print, and then the current graphic novel I'm working on, and hopefully a 3rd graphic novel by then. So yeah, definitely a lot coming up for the 25th anniversary.
Oh, that's a lot. That's pretty cool. And it's something that you mentioned, going back and just redrawing the pages, because I'm doing a mini comic series right now. I got 2 issues already printed out, and like I've just been kind of just giving those away, but I do want to like collect the pages, so I keep all the files. So collect the pages and turn it into just a bigger little collection, because after that I'm gonna continue the story, but it's not gonna be in mini comic form. It's gonna be just regular comic. So some of the first little 8-page story, it started off as a gag, just a play on just the Captain Goggles and MASKUP Man. We're just like, oh, I'll just make a little gag comic, and then Anna was like, well, why don't you like put like an actual storyline and have the story continue? So now that gag kind of like it kind of like takes away from the rest, because it's like, oh, a funny little joke, and then you got issue 2 where like they're about to go on this adventure. So I was thinking about like, okay, I might have to redraw or even totally redo like 2 or 3 pages, because it's just like not that much that kind of starts the story,
right?
And then put in the rest, and then after I finish that, that's when I want to do the bigger story that it's leading up to. So I'll take more of my time on that one. But yeah, like I also want to do like little gag strips and just put them in there, but I'm not sure where does this fit.
Right.
So,
that's why I'm putting all those things. I'm putting them in a separate collection.
Okay. Yeah, I think sorry, go ahead.
Well, they're fun to do, these little like using the same character but as a gag or a humorous version. Because when you look at the history, because we're one-man operations, you and me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the history of Batman, there's like 1 million Batman comics, and then there's probably like 1,000 where they're just like these weird little knockoffs and gag stories, and they're not meant to be anything, taken seriously.
I get Judd here. Am I a gag to you, Frank?
Wow, Captain Goggles. You typed something when you weren't looking.
Yeah.
Your Captain Goggles persona.
Yeah, and I also do a character that I got into like actually doing comics right like before, I think right like 2019. I was like, what, I've always wanted to do a comic. I'm gonna look up stuff, and I found all these great people: Scott Serkland, Joshua Campbell, Curry Kerr, and like they really like kind of inspired me and pushed me to like make a comic. So when the big pandemic happened, like I already had an idea, and I ended up joining this Discord about comic creators, and they were doing an anthology where and people could submit. So I got part of that story of that character, Captain Courage, published. But I want to. I also did a little gag strip, and I also do like little off like it doesn't connect to that story, but it's that character. So I was like, so I think that's something I want to do. Also do it as a little collection. So I was thinking about doing the Salazar collection and then just putting all my stuff there that doesn't fit into a big story. Not even the characters that aren't even like part of that, but just having all this stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show that a little bit. So and this was an homage to Kirby, this cover.
Okay.
So I'll show the actual design.
And this is an anthology.
Yeah, this is in the 9 volt anthology. You can get it on lulu.com, but I have a link somewhere in my link tree that'll take you to there. We did it at cost, so we don't get anything. But what I want to do, because I actually want to make money off my comics, is take take that story and put it in somewhere else, and then
Right.
just put it out there.
Yeah, it's your story.
And my character, Captain Courage, is faith-based, so I made a little. This is a little mini comic that I give out to and I love doing these. I love doing the mini comics. So I've been doing a bunch of those. So this is one that I make specifically to give out to church kids or to anyone who's interested, because it's faith-based and has scripture. So like even in the main story, it's faith-based, but it's not like there's still a story. So
right,
it's for anybody. So it's a right. And this one is specifically like, you know what? I want to give this out, teach a lesson about this scripture or something. So it's something like might not be in the same world, but like it has its place. So that's something about putting those into like a collection, a volume that people can kind of okay, like this is what he's doing with this character and
it's the same character still, but
same character, different story. So or different timeline. I don't know if you want to multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse stuff, right? Which,
So like what you're saying, we're into self-publishing. So like this, I do at home. Like it's me, a printer, and a long arm stapler, and lots of paper. so
yep. So it's on paper.
So is that how you started? Just like, hey, I'm just gonna make this, and like I don't know, I guess they call them zines or zines.
Zines, so the first El Muerto, the very first one from '98, which I don't have it at hand. Yeah, it was all black and white, photocopied, even the cover. But I had him done. It was comic book size, but it was all black and white, even the cover, just regular paper. So I had it done at a print shop because I didn't want to print, 32-page comic and cut it. So they did it. I think I did like 300 copies, 350. Something.
Oh, okay.
And I did it about another, and then I ran out of those. And I did another 150. So I always tell people of the original black, like the original Ninja Turtle comic or the original Love and Pocket, the one done on that newsprint. There's no more than 500 of the El Muerto one.
Oh,
so
wow.
I only have less than 10 in my collection.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's very super rare. So if someone finds it in the back issue across the country, it's just an all white cover, El Muerto, Days of the Dead, Numero Uno edition. I sold one to a museum just a couple of years ago.
Was that the one in Brownsville or a different one?
No, it was a different one. But I forgot the price. It's like I forgot what I sold it for, like 500 or 1,000 or something. Because I only, when I got to pull it out of my little tiny box of those.
Yeah.
So now I have one up on my web shop. I think I don't expect anyone to buy it. I think like $1,500 or maybe $2,500. I mean, because there's no more left.
Yeah.
From my, in my possession, they're all out in the world somewhere, or in a landfill at this point. So it's the ultimate rare El Muerto comic.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned landfill because one of the anthologies we did was a holiday anthology, and I did a story in there where Captain Courage. He ends up by his accent or in the times of the Bible. So he's able to witness the birth of Jesus. So like, oh, this is a cool Christmas story. I like this.
Mhm.
I'm gonna buy some extra copies when this comes out and give some away. So I gave one to a friend of mine, but mine was the only one kind of close to the original Christmas story. So all the
Right.
other ones had like werewolves and
Yeah.
uh, ninja elves, and
Ninja elves.
so when they saw it, the wife, and the mom of the kids saw it. She didn't see my story, so she's like, oh, what's this? Like, ghosts and monsters and demons. So she tossed it. So somewhere in Texas in the landfill, there is an autographed copy of that anthology, one of my stories.
Wow.
And I signed it for them, and like, here, and it's in the landfill.
Wow. With the birth of Jesus comic in there.
Yeah. Okay. That's one I'm gonna have to reprint. Like, I'll just do it as a zine, and like,
Right.
here, like, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So, I'm talking about a newsprint. So what I like to do, because I've been really liking the newsprint. So I bought a stack of just newsprint paper. So some of my comics I print them in newsprint, but I only do a few. I don't do that many. So I have here, and I still have copies. So all these are, I think there's like 20 copies. All these are newsprint.
Wow.
So
Newsprint.
so this is the one. So this is the one I was telling you about, the Captain Goggles. That it's more of a gag one, but it does kind of like
Right.
have a little story. And this is the continuation of that one. You
Wow.
can
And
see,
newsprint.
like,
Great.
yeah. So this is like my biggest moment. Like, yeah, I did a double spread.
Yeah. Double page spread.
Yeah.
That's cool. Newsprint mini comics.
Yeah. So I'll print out like limited copies of these, and the rest I'll just do like a printer paper. So like, I don't know if anyone likes newsprint like I do, or anyone likes mini comics like I do, but if someone does, like,
The
they'll
newsprint variant.
they'll get a cool. Which I'm gonna start putting these up on Etsy so I can actually sell them, because I just have like a little stack here.
Yeah. Put it out in the world, man.
Okay, we got. Oh wait, it starts off here. So let's see. What's a typical run for an indie comic? That is to say, how many copies per issue?
For an indie
Okay.
comic,
Yeah.
there's no. I couldn't answer that. There's no. There's hundreds of indie creators. There's no governing body that says it's got to be 100 or 5,000. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
could be 50,
It's
100.
your own. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I'm sure no one's doing 1,000 right off the top. You know, probably a couple of hundred, but yeah, there's no right or wrong answer for sure.
yeah. I think the common answer is whatever we can afford.
Well, also, if you know the technology, print on demand, so you go to the printer, like, hey, I want 100 copies. They print 100, and then you sell them, and then go, hey, go back to that company. I need another 200.
Yeah.
And you just send them the files, or sometimes they have the file. Sometimes they keep the files, and if you come
Yeah.
back, so that, okay, print another 200, boom. That way you don't have. In the old days, you'd have to print like what they call offset printing. Like in
Yeah.
probably in the movies you've seen it, like those big giant rollers with the newspaper.
Hmm.
So that's offset printing. So in the old days, you'd have to do a minimum of 3,000 copies of a comic.
Oh wow.
By old days, I mean even 20 years ago, because it just
Last
worked out
week.
that way, right? Like whatever the roll of, I don't know why they said 3,000 copies, but like for
Yeah.
them, like big roll of paper, they can probably get 3,000. So I'd have to get 3,000 copies of my early El Muerto comics. But
Okay.
thankfully, I went to print on demand technology came into existence. So I use print on demand. There's different companies. I use Greco Printing if they want to shout out.
Okay.
So you can order 25 copies, 100, 300 at a time, and then just order more afterwards. So
Yeah, and that's what I plan on doing, print on demand. And I did briefly work not that long ago. It was like maybe a couple of months ago for a printer nearby, but unfortunately the owner he passed away, so the store closed. So I was never able uh, to go and get. Hey, can I want some copies of this. I was gonna go with them because they did still have offset printing, and I worked there just for a couple of days, just uh, as I guess day labor, just like filling in, like making some manuals for them and learning a little bit of the technology there. But they had, I think, one or two offset printers on the side, and like big old machine. I was like, wow, that would be cool to learn. And then like, well, I never got a chance, but like. Uh, they were telling me a little bit about that the guy that used to use it, he passed away during COVID, so they didn't have it anymore. But he was like the only one that knew how to use it like proficiently, so he could like I don't know, like all day he'd be there like making prints and copies and
mm-hmm.
yeah. And I remember you had talked about it. I think it was on the Artcasters where like you had to use like three colors and like you only had a minimum of three colors per issue or per printing. Was that you or
yeah, that wasn't me. Yeah, because I never had a printer to limit the colors.
Okay. Well, I think like in the old printers, like there was like a certain way that printers were like would be able to print something. So like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't you. Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, you got any like experiences from using those old printers back in the day
Do I have any?
compared to now? Yeah, like compared to how you would do it back then to how you do it now. It's like, is it? I'm
Well,
assuming it's a lot easier now.
my first couple of comics in 98, 99, 2000, I had to what I do? I'd have to. I don't remember how I did it because now I do it digitally, right? Like
Yeah.
I draw on the paper, I scan it, I letter it, and I might color it if it's a cover or a smaller book, and then I
Okay.
send those files through email to the printer. So there, it's done. In
Okay.
those first couple of books, I don't remember if I had to give the guy the actual art. I think I had to give him the artwork, like the actual page, and then they would shoot it in the camera. I don't remember. That's 25 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Judd here is helping me out. RGB. Yeah, that's what, like it had to be like yellow, red, blue. RGB. And Judd also has a question. How involved in the movie were you? Was it a positive experience? So before we get to that, they made a movie about El Muerto. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that
Yes,
happened?
yes. Thank you, Judd, for getting us off the topic of printing because I'm probably not the most exciting thing for the audience. Yeah, I got a, or even me. It's like, yeah, I don't remember those old printing techniques, but
Sorry.
but the important thing is print on demand for any creators out there. Look that up.
Yes.
What was I going to say? Oh yes. So I did an interview on NPR, with the NPR reporter at San Diego Comic Con
Mm-hmm.
in 2001. Yeah, 2001. He came to my table, did a quick interview, and like, okay, I'll do the interview, and he left. And I figured, okay, that was good. I'm glad I did the interview. I don't know if I'm ever going to hear it because I wasn't sure when the show would air or whatever. But they aired it a week or two later, and then the person who heard it was Brian Cox. He's a director, independent film director out here in LA, Hollywood. And he heard the interview and he's interested in like oh, that's interesting, El Muerto, blah blah blah. So I don't know. He got my contact info. His assistant wrote me, "Hey, we heard your interview. We'd like to find out can we get those comics." So at the time, I only had those black and white comics, the early ones, and yeah, they sent me a check. It's like, man, it was like $10 or something. It was not,
Yeah.
I just charged them the regular price for the comics at the time. They weren't collectibles.
Yeah.
So I sent it to them. I'm glad they didn't ask for free copies, because that'd be a turnoff. Because not that you need those, not that I needed the $10, but it's like, if you're a producer, you gotta at least buy the comics. So they did.
Yeah. Put
So
something up.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? No freebies. So I sent him the comics, and then the director, he called me in for a meeting. I'd like to meet with you here at my office. Like, okay. And yeah, quick, about an hour meeting, and then at the end he told me, well, I'd be interested in making a film out of this if you're interested. And I said I would not be interested. So this is over 2 years now. So then, like, long story short, and then he ended up getting a producer, because he's a director, but right, you need a producer with the film. So he got a contact with a producer of his, a producer friend, and then I had to get a lawyer, and then we started bouncing the contract back and forth. But to answer Judd's question, yeah, I was definitely involved, like, every step of the way. Like, I didn't write the script, which I wouldn't want to take a credit. I never wrote a screenplay. I don't, they're not going to let some guy who's never written a screenplay write the screenplay. I wouldn't want to write it anyway. But like, it's going to be adapted from my comics. So, but I had a really close relationship with the director, Brian, because he's an artist. He's a creative person. Producers are more business oriented, but your director is much more in tune with you artistically. Even if he has a different vision, at least you're both artists. So
yeah,
he would start writing this. He wrote the first couple of drafts of the script, and then they brought in the screenwriter. But every time there was a draft was done, me and the producer would get a copy of it. So I was able to chime in. Like, I'd read it, then I'd give him notes, or we'd go meet. Well, here's what I think about this scene, or I'm not sure about this. Yeah, involved in every step. When the script was done, we're at the producer's office, and I go, well, this is the last draft, it looks like. So, who are we going to get to play El Muerto? And they were like, well, we got to look at that. And I go, what about Wilmer Valderrama at the time from that 70s show, right? This is 2005, 2004, maybe. He was already a big star on that. And
Which
Latino.
A picture here.
Yeah, that's not Wilmer, but there's a picture of a guy wearing El Muerto makeup.
Oh, I thought that was him.
Not that one. There might have been. I think I have a picture in there of me and Wilmer on the set. But
okay.
Yeah, but I'm. Oh, there you go. Yes, that's a Wilmer Valderrama, and there's me in my cameo costume, Day of the Dead outfit, and we're on the set in East LA at a cemetery, Evergreen Memorial Park or whatever, right in the puro heart of East LA. But so I want to frame this with Judd's question as far as involvement. So yeah, like every step of the way. Now, let me say this, because people always ask, because you created the comic, believe me, doesn't mean you're the one in charge. Like, no, I don't want that actor. I want this actor. No, I don't want this script. They, it's just it's more like you're just offering your opinion.
Yeah.
And this is me. I'm a small fry at the time. Even now, like, you guys hear this, like Stephen King. They make a movie and Stephen King hates it. Like, even you think he doesn't have power, right? He gets the money for the script for the rights, which is fine, and maybe they consult him, but they're not going to let, for the most part, the creator, a writer or artist, like, have the say in the final direction. But it was that relationship I talked to you about with the director Brian. We'd always talk, and he told me one time in his office, he goes, "Hey, look, we're going to start filming pretty soon. If you ever have anything to say, please let me know. Just please don't say it in front of the crew." And I go, "Oh, of course not. No. Like, if they film a scene,
I'm not
going to say, like, right out loud, oh, you know what? That didn't work. That line didn't come out right. You don't do that. You don't have that. That's totally wrong." But he said, "Come up to me later, and privately tell me something." So I thought that was great.
It sucks.
Yeah. My cameo's got to be longer. No. So anyway, I was lucky. It was a very small independent film. I live here in LA, so I was able to work on the film every day. I had that in my contract. I told my lawyer, well, yeah, this is what I want for the rights, for the film rights, but I also want to work on the movie and get paid weekly. I want a salary. I want a weekly paycheck. to just stand around there, to just stand around on the set. So I got that, which is great.
That's pretty cool.
So again, one day we're at the production offices and like the costume people, they're coming up with some costume ideas, and then what her name was, Alexa Stone, I think, the main costume designer. She would always show the director like what she came up with, and then she came to me one day like, "Oh, Brian wanted me to show you this." I thought that was very nice. Like again,
cool.
Again, contractually, they didn't have to show me anything.
Yeah.
But he was like, he approved it, but he wanted her to show me and hear my opinion. And then like some of the other, like the production department, the guys who built all the sets and all that, they were like, "Oh yeah, check this out." They'd always say, "Yeah, we showed Brian. He wanted us to show you too." So that felt great. I mean,
wow.
Anyone out there, if working on stuff, making comic stories, if you get a movie deal, some people don't get involved at all. Some people want to be, heavily involved. It's up to you, obviously, but I wanted to be involved again because I'm local. I was lucky I could go there.
Yeah.
But you hear horror stories. I remember hearing just one story really quick. There's this Image comic. I think it was called Whiteout, something like that. Anyway, something like I think it's some crime in a snowstorm. But the artist of the book, one time he posted, this was years ago, he goes, "Yeah, they filmed it, but I never got invited to the set or anything." So like I said, everyone's contract or relationship or whatever circumstance is going to be different. I mean Frank Miller, we're going to make the Sin City movie, you're going to direct it. I mean, okay, that's 100% involvement. He was a co-director with Robert Rodriguez. I mean, that's the height of, okay, I'm making my own movie. Like I'm making the movie versus no involvement. And I was more in the middle. I think on the higher, I was on the closer side of full involvement.
Okay. That sounds. Yeah, it does sound like relationship is like just maintaining a good relationship, and that would really help you out. Did you ever get to keep like any of the concept art of the movies or?
No. It's funny. I noticed the director Brian would have like this big book with him all the time, and I always wanted to. I should have asked him. Hey, what? I'm sure they were like his ideas and stuff like that, as well as the script. But well, I did keep that picture you were showing with me and Wilmer. They did give me that big poncho with the skeleton painted on it, and then the little paper mache mask that I made with my friend. My friend Steve Guerra showed me how to make paper mache mask. I kept that mask. So I have my cameo wardrobe from the movie. Yeah,
so
I'm holding the little mask, and then that poncho it's painted on.
Yeah,
I should ask them for one of Wilmer's costumes. I'm sure he had a couple.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. I wonder if you got to keep any of his costumes and just keep
I'd be like, it'd be like Batman, and like have Robin's costume in the glass case.
I have the Captain Courage character that I do. That started off as kind of I guess like a mascot. Is something I would put on for this veterans ministry that I'm involved in. That's where it came from, to pass out gifts to kids on Christmas or just like take pictures and stuff like that. So I have a mannequin that someone gave me. So that I use it for. I have the costume on there, and then when I'm ready to put it on again, I have to take it off. Now I just like bought an extra pair of pants on to like undress a mannequin every time. I just the helmet and just the armor. But like, but yeah, I feel like Batman. Sometimes I just have my suits there ready.
that other photograph you showed from the book. So I had a costume before the movie happened. I had a costume made up. So that's a friend of mine. I did the face paint on him. You see the costume, it's actually closer to the comic where it's got that stripe, that white stripe.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so I had to go to Olvera Street. My sister-in-law made the costume there. Yep, the white stripes. So I bought a mariachi suit, a black suit. And then my sister-in-law, she found this, like it's not a tape, but it's like a strip, and it was like wavy white lines, just like the comic. So she put them on the leg, and then she sewed the skull on the back of his jacket. So I had about maybe over a couple of years, I had a couple of friends would basically, hey, can you fit in the suit? And they'd go, like you said, just come with me to signings or something, or and then yeah, having like your mascot walk around was great.
Oh, that's cool.
In fact, the guy who was in that photograph he just showed, oh, I feel so bad I forgot his name. He
Is
came
it
to
in here?
he came to the set of the movie, and he was an extra in the background.
Oh, okay.
And I had I have a photograph of me, Wilmer, and him and somebody else in it. So in that photograph, there's two El Muertos. There's right. Oh, Simon's his name.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
my
I
friend that
understand.
went to suit. So Simon was on the set as an extra, and I didn't tell Wilmer, but I go, hey, can I get a picture with you, me, and Simon? So like I know in that picture is like, well, there's El Muerto the movie, and there's El Muerto the spokesmodel, whatever. He wasn't wearing the makeup, but that's kind of
Okay.
fun. The
Oh,
multiverse,
cool.
right? The multiverse that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the Mortoverse.
Yeah, that's what they call it, the multiverse. Multiverse. So yeah.
Yeah, I was reading some of the story, so it's cool how in the comic, I don't want to reveal too much, but the idea of the suit comes from a movie.
Oh my gosh. Yes, no, I'll tell you that because that's from the original comic from '98. So
Yeah,
Diego de la Muerte is his name. What's the chance of a guy called Diego de la Muerte becoming a character called El Muerto, right?
yeah,
Um, when he was a kid, he saw this movie late night on TV, black and white, called Los Muertos También Lloran.
yeah.
And,
Which I
you know,
have
there's some guy
here.
wearing that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there we go. It's like an old Mexican black and white 1960s, low budget, cheesy, but
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, I know those movies well.
But back in '98, when I did the first issue, and I did mention the Muertos También Lloran, Los Muertos También Lloran, the internet was already up, but it wasn't 100% like it is now. But people used to go like, "Hey, I can't find that movie anywhere." I go, "No, I made it up." But it made me feel like, "Oh yeah, it does sound like it'd be a legit low budget
Yeah.
horror film. Los Muertos También Lloran."
I wonder if that's something like you could put together, just like random people and like,
And
yeah, I found a copy. Just do filters black and white, and I found a copy of the
yeah,
movie. You can get it for $30 when you buy this issue from me, and the issue is $40.
I at the least I want to do like a comic book adaptation of it, like with like ink wash. Maybe have a
Yeah.
friend do it. Um,
Oh, cool.
I always thought it'd be cool to try to crank out some quick little film, but that's a whole project. I don't think I could afford the time, but um, I'm glad that it resonated with people. Los Muertos También Lloran. In fact, there's a backstory that I have for that. It's one of the, there's been movies about this. It's one of those films. It's like it was a haunted film set, and like
Yeah.
people died, and there was a fire, and like the only copy, people thinking no one's ever really seen the movie, and then
Yeah.
it showed up years later, like in the early '80s in our real world, like on
Yeah.
a real crappy VHS copy. Someone recorded it somehow, and then it got transferred to DVD, but then there's weird stories that the company that put out the VHS burned down, and you know what I mean, like someone died watching the movie. So I want to develop that storyline. It's like this weird,
Oh, cool.
freaky. I think there was a John Carpenter film like that he did for a TV series with
Yeah.
horror mythologies, and I know other people have done
Okay.
stuff like that. But
Yeah. Sounds good.
anyway, boy, I haven't talked this much about Los Muertos También Lloran. I don't think ever. This is great.
Okay. And we got some cool comments here. Judd is referencing this. So you're saying I can become Santos, and
Anyone,
uh,
anybody? Yes,
and he says do a prequel.
do a prequel. Okay,
Okay. And talking about what you're saying about the relationship with the directors, he says that makes sense. Having a relationship is key. Also, Wilmer is on NCIS now, so maybe the movie will pick up some new fans.
awesome.
And Dory says you're talking about Stephen King. Yep, he was thrilled when he got to buy back The Shining and redo it. The the TV miniseries. And
Yeah, so good
we
for
do have a
him.
question. Yeah, that's good when you're able to buy back your own stuff. And Jim has a question. Do you read? Do you go back and read your old stories for references or continuity purposes?
I do look through them for like just visual continuity.
Hmm.
Like, hey, what did she look like? What is the god, especially the gods, because the intricate costume
Yeah,
design. Yeah. So definitely I do that just for visual purposes.
yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, about the really quick about the movies and Wilmer.
Hmm.
Somebody's asking like, hey, if you guys do a new El Muerto movie one day or something, would you have Wilmer in it? I go, well, it would be cool to ask him, like, to do some type of cameo, right? Like,
Yeah,
figure out something. I mean, because obviously you'd want to get a new, younger El Muerto. But it's kind of tradition sometimes, right? Get like the original actor or something. But yeah, whatever. It's just something people are asking.
yeah, yeah. I remember when the Hulk movie came out. There was a cameo by Lou Ferrigno
Yep, that's right.
and
He's
also
walking.
Stan Lee. They're both security guards. So
I know. Isn't that funny? The 80-year-old security guard.
a big buff security guard and a little
Yeah, big, huge guy and then a
old.
little.
And uh, earlier we were talking about zines. You did a zine about Steve Ditko.
Steve Ditko,
So
legendary artist behind. I'll do a Frank here and just slowly raise it up into the screen. So it's called "You Don't Know Ditko." Little play on an old phrase.
yeah,
Ditko, really quick, just so people if they don't know. Yes, he's the original artist of Spider-Man, but he's the co-creator of Spider-Man because no one told him how to draw that costume.
yeah,
I don't want to get into all the whole Stan Lee thing here, but so someone has an idea for a character. He's blind, he's acrobatic, he's called Daredevil. Well, someone comes up with the visual look. So anyway, Ditko, he came up with the Spider-Man look, the way Peter Parker looks, like the body language,
yeah,
and comic scripts back then, they were not written like you think they are now. Like no one back in the 60s, Marvel got a full script. Page 1, panel 1, this happened.
yeah,
The artists were given an outline. Like if me and Frank talk for 5 minutes, hey Frank, let's do a comic book, right? Tomato Man. He comes from Mars and he possesses somebody and the guy's got these
yeah,
cool tomato powers. And that's all I tell Frank. But then Frank goes home and draws it and he makes up this weird costume and these weird abilities that I didn't know about. And then I get the artwork back. So then I write the dialogue with to what's already there.
yeah.
That's how those comics were done. So,
The Marvel
if you look at
method.
the Lizard and the Scorpion, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Mysterio,
Yeah,
you know, those were all the artist came up with the look for those and, you know, in the storytelling. But anyway, so I've been following Ditko's career for, I don't know, 40 years since I was a kid.
wow.
I just love the way he draws. Like first and foremost, when you love an artist, it's always about, you love how they draw. You love how they
Yeah,
draw the figure, the designs, the people, the way he moves the action. So, I followed him through every phase of his career, every company he's worked at, and he's been basically self-publishing the last 20 years of his life, 30 years of his life. Jim Lujan Tomatoes versus Mars Bots.
yeah.
We just gave out a free idea, Frank. I may lose a lot of money on this show. Netflix announces a Tomato Man comic in 6 months from now. So yeah, Ditko passed away in 2019, 2020, I think. Oh, I feel so bad. I don't remember. So anyway, I did this zine because I just figured, well, you know what? Let me do something. This is while he was still alive when I did this. I just
Oh
wanted to
wow.
have a better idea of him. He's not just Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, right? Which
Yeah,
is big as those are great. He's not just a Creeper or Hawk and Dove or Shade the Changing Man at DC.
yeah,
He's got 65-year career. So that's what this is, just little stories, articles about him. So I'm doing a new version of that. I'm going to be, so there's this big Steve Ditko exhibit
yeah.
in
I
his
was gonna ask
hometown.
you about that. So,
Yeah, at his hometown in Pennsylvania, Johnstown.
oh,
It's 2
cool.
months. It's been up for a while already. It's going to go till September 11th. And on September 11th, they're having a Ditko Con there. So I'm going to be going to that, and I'm going to be selling the new zine. But you know, I've got to know Steve's nephew Mark. He actually lives out here
Hmm.
in Los Angeles. Mark
Oh,
Ditko.
wow.
So Mark's been making the rounds, especially since his uncle passed away. You know, he just wants to
Oh,
like voice like the family to be not so much hurt. I mean, it's not about them. It's he just wants to protect his uncle's legacy.
yeah, yeah,
Stories about him, and he's like, no, he's just a regular guy to us. He was just our uncle, but
yeah.
um, so he talked to the museum over there in Johnstown, and they
Hmm.
wanted to have these zines available for sale because they go, yeah, this is something that's, it's kind of cheap as far as you can sell it cheap for $3 or $4, $5,
Yeah.
and they wanted something people can pick up at the gift shop, like something like quick, and then also because this is like a primer on Ditko, this would be perfect. So
Okay.
they ended up ordering like 500 copies from me, and so I did a special edition. I put the logo on
Wow.
here, the Bottle Works logo. So that's currently in the gift shop in Johnstown. But when I go on the 11th of September, I'm going to do a comic book size. This is zine size. I'm doing a larger size, double the content, new cover. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it's a big, very honored to be part of,
And
play some little small part in that.
and is there a way for like us like here that can go there to get a copy? Is that going to be available to the public, or is that like a limited
No, no,
edition
no. I'm going
only?
to have them in my shop. I'll have them in my web shop. So as long as people follow me on Instagram, like I mentioned earlier, Javier Los
Hmm.
Comics, um, I'll announce like, hey guys, I got pre-orders if you want to order a copy, and then so they'll be available at the end of September when I get back.
Oh, cool. I got since we're talking about Ditko, I got a couple of Ditko questions because I asked someone that's a Ditko fan,
Oh wow,
and so this is they sent me two questions. So
yeah, cool.
question one, and this is from Art Man of Adam, also Art of Anon. He goes by two different pen names.
Okay,
What do you think of all the movie elements that Ditko used in his stories?
all the
And
move, all the movie elements that Ditko used in his stories.
in his comics, yeah, like and I asked him for an example because I'm
Yeah,
not I don't know that much about Ditko, so I don't know. I didn't know he used movie elements. uh and he says in Strange Tales 130 through 141, there's a street chase scene where Doctor Strange is I think Dormammu and I gotta make
Mordo,
sure I get it right. Yeah, Mordo and Dormammu are looking for Doctor Strange and they're chasing
right?
him. And those chase scenes, he says, are like straight out of like something you would see in spy adventure movies, noir movies. So it's like very movie action type of things.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for Ditko, but I mean, no doubt he was definitely, he watched movies. I do know that. But his storytelling, what he's talked about is things have to be super clear, like on the page and the panel.
Hmm.
So what the your viewer was talking about, because he said it looked very cinematic.
Yeah,
Well, I assume that's just Ditko like staging that chase scene, like you know, show the street at an angle,
yeah,
show guys running down the street, and maybe next panel change the angle so it's not the same angle.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have those images in front of me, but yeah, Ditko is very precise. He's very clear in his storytelling. That's what I love about his fight scenes. And if you look at
Okay.
look at the way he choreographs a battle. Someone called it like it's a ballet. Spider-Man flipping around and the villain chasing him. And in fact, as a kid, one of the first comics I saw of his, he was fighting the Beetle. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Beetle, Human Torch and him are fighting the Beetle. And there's like a 2-page sequence where, so it's 3 characters, right? Torch, Spidey, and the Beetle. And they're fighting in the building, and they go through a window, and another guy comes up to the staircase and down the hallway and out the window. And as a kid, I used to like run my finger on the paper because like, well, Spider-Man jumps out the window here. In the next panel, he comes in through the roof, so he must have ran up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if
Yeah,
Ditko thought about it like that, but in my mind, as a little kid, like it made sense to me. Like, oh, that's yeah. If he went out this way, he'd come in this way in the next panel, and this guy would come up the stairwell. It just captivated me. Like he just like yeah,
yeah.
like your viewer said, it just pulled me in. Like, wow, this is very intricate.
Yeah.
So like the guy liked that chase scene. For me, it was that fight scene. So
Oh, cool. And he also asks, who do you think might be a movie actor used for reference for Doctor Strange? So like, who who did Steve Ditko model Doctor
Doctor the
Strange
original Doctor
after?
Strange on there. Wow, that's a good question. There's a lot of people have written about, and then you look at the artwork, like Ditko drew Doctor Strange most likely as an Asian man,
Hmm.
right? Um, just the way the features and everything, but he ended up they called him, I guess Stan came out with the name Stephen Strange, which Ditko said it
Okay.
might have been like a little, not a jab, but Steve, right? Ditko, Steve Strange,
Oh, okay.
Strange.
Oh, okay. So he's calling
Yeah,
him Strange.
right. It's like came up with the character for you. Don't call him Strange, but yeah, I'm not sure if Ditko modeled somebody on him, but a lot of his faces. You look at all the stories he does, not just the Marvel stuff, the before Marvel, the horror stuff, and even after. Like the people are very detailed, right? They always have
Hmm.
like a lot of them have sunken cheekbones and like a furrowed brow and wrinkles, and he's very good just showing like an emotional state with his characters. So he probably wanted Doctor Strange to look distinct
Yeah.
because he's not
This
wearing
is
a
true.
mask. So it's like, how do I make just a guy's face with two little white stripes in it look a little distinct? So
Cool. And I did want to ask you a little bit because we mentioned how Hispanic creators in the Hispanic community. Um, I I personally think like just from hearing you talk about it and hear your story, like you're an inspiration to a lot of his Hispanic creators and just Hispanic people in general, like myself. Like um, you started Los Comics Expo, and that's something that you just kind of did. Like it wasn't like,
the Latino Comics Expo,
yeah,
yeah,
Latinos Comics Expo.
yeah, Los Comics is my publishing company.
Oh, sorry, I
Yeah, that's
mixing
all
up.
right. Yeah, so it's been 10 years. This year's our 10th year anniversary. Me and
Oh,
my friend Ricardo Padilla started that. And yeah, we were just talking one day, and he wanted to do something like Latino artists, but putting them together. And I go, well, we can do. How about we do something like a Latino comics? I just made up the word. Like I just said, let's do a Latino Comics Expo. He's like, what's that? I go, well, it'd be a small convention where we just gather different Latino comic creators that we know. At the time, we already knew, a good
yeah.
handful of them. We'll just get them together for a show, put them together in a little convention and do it. So we ended
Oh,
up doing our first one at in San Francisco. That's where Ricardo lives. The place called the Cartoon Art Museum.
okay.
It's like one of maybe one or two in the whole country of it's a museum dedicated to only comic book art, comic book, newspaper strip. That's all they have. That's their focus, comic book art. So they hosted us, and we had like 12 artists. Very small show. That I don't know what 5, 6 tables, 2 artists per table. Yeah, intimate little show. It was a small location too, so it was a good size for that. 12 people, 12 artists, and we had a lot of fans show up, and people were like, "Wow, we didn't know there's so many Latino creators. Like we didn't know Latinos were making comics, but like with Latino characters or subjects or themes,
Yeah.
whatever you call it." And like I told you, that's why I made my comic in '98. Like, well, I want to make my own comic, but it's obviously I have complete control. I'm going to make it on a Mexican-based character, and yeah, like you were saying earlier, you'd be talking about, yeah, it's about representation. I totally believe in that. Anybody, anybody should do that. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing that influenced me for the Latino Comics Expo back in 2011, I noticed for a few years online, I'd see like these black comic book expos. Like there was one called the Black Age of Heroes. I think it's probably one of the first conventions. It might be the first convention ever made focus on like uh, an ethnic cultural group,
Yeah.
right? Those like black creators, black comic books characters.
Okay.
So that was one back then, and then I think we might have been maybe we're the second. I think we're the first Latino comic. Well, we are. I know we are we're the first Latino comic book convention that ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and now now there's several. There's the Texas Latino Comic Con. There's across the country. There's different ones, which is great. And then I know there's a lot, way more black comic conventions than there were back in the day. And
Oh,
I've seen
cool.
like an Asian American. There's a LGBTQ conventions. So yeah, people are
There's
realizing.
something for everyone.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Christian Comic Cons. There's a
Oh,
couple that
okay.
I know of. There's one out here in LA. I was been invited to once or twice.
Oh, okay. I gotta look into that. See if there's any here.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, here in LA, I know there's one. I imagine there might be across the country. So yeah, but like I tell people, I tell our artists, yeah, do our show, but then next week go do another show. Don't just wait for us every
Yeah.
year. Don't only Latino creators. I'm talking to you. Don't only confine yourself to looking for
One.
Latino audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't think that's smart. Like, why wouldn't you go to all the shows and then go to our
Yeah.
show too? Because at our show, it's the focus, and the fans are looking for Latino creators
Yeah.
and books. So
It's
yeah,
centered to that, but you
yeah,
want to get your stories to everyone.
yeah. So you go there to the San Diego or anywhere. I mean, there's hundreds of shows. Go to any comic show in your local town, your little comic festival, your little library show. I
Hmm.
mean, you got to sell your books. It's all about getting your word out there, your product out there. So
That's cool. Yeah. Uh,
representation.
I know for me when I think I was like in high school, like I think it was like towards the last year of high school. I had heard that there's a local creator at that time. I think he was like from where I am, the Rio Grande Valley. He made a comic and it was black and white, and I didn't read anything about it till later. Like I think I found it somewhere, but it was in black and white. Oh well, I'm not. It reminded me of the old novellas that you would just find everywhere. So like Adam, tired of those. Like my
Oh,
mom
right,
was
right,
like,
right.
I don't want to read anything like that. And now I'm like, man, that looked pretty cool. But it always inspired me because like you know what, this is someone from my area, from the valley, and they made a comic. Why can't I?
Exactly. It's all about.
And I went and found it. His name is Richard Dominguez, and it just happened.
Oh my gosh.
I followed him on Instagram, and he posted up like after I followed him. You can buy the first issues collected on Amazon, so I bought it. And as I'm going through it, it is based in the city, and one of the other cities. So it's based in the valley. So like, wow, like cool. I want to do that too. And Captain Courage, it, uh, I have it based in Far, Texas, which is where I'm from. I just doxed myself, so now everyone's gonna
Right.
go find me. But
Well, it's funny.
uh, but yeah,
It's funny you mentioned Richard because when I was starting out in 98 was my first book. So like the mid 90s, I'm looking. He's one of the artists I heard about, like Hispanic Magazine, I think it's called. I saw an article with him. Like, oh look, like you were saying, like, oh look, I didn't know Latino creators were making their own books. And then I heard about this other guy here in LA, Carlos Saldana, does Burrito. In
oh
fact,
okay,
Professor
I think I've
Aldama
heard of
wrote
him.
the intro to that book, and he mentions all of us. I don't know if you ever read the intro, but Professor
Uh-huh.
Latinx, Professor Aldama, he mentions that early 90s movement with Richard, Laura Molina, Carlos Saldana. And then me and Rafael Navarro, Rody Montijo, we got inspired by them. So we're like that second wave in that 90s movement. And
Oh wow.
yeah, it's really interesting how everybody keeps inspiring everybody else.
Yeah.
You guys are the new. You're the next. You guys are the new wave. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And we usually go for an hour. It's like a few minutes afterwards. So if there's any questions anyone has, we got a lot of cool comments. There's people went off on the Tomato Man.
oh my
Uh,
gosh, that's
so
funny.
Gary Hodges does a comic, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, and that's what Tim was saying. Tomatoes versus Mars Bots. So Gary is demanding royalties. Judd said 2018 was when Ditko passed, which I didn't know it was that recent. I thought it was like earlier, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of
I thought it was 2019, but again, with that,
uh,
like we talked about the pandemic, that whole year,
yeah,
everything's thrown off a year or two as far as my memory. Like things are either a year ago or 3 years ago.
and
Um,
they're just going off on the tomato versus
oh
tomato
my god.
man.
Well, we'll let them do that. That's fine. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, I
I
think
do.
you covered most of the topics: the movie, the convention, the comics. Um,
Cool.
I'm working on the next graphic novel, the second graphic novel, Casa del
Yes.
Diablo. And that's number 2 of, but the plan is 10, if you can believe it or not.
Oh wow.
10, I call it my 1,000-page epic, El Muerto saga.
Oh, that'll be cool. And you guys can, if you want to see early artwork posted of that, Javier posts on his Instagram and on his Twitter and on his Facebook. So you follow him there. You'll see pages that he's done. And
Yeah. I always try to show like a page or two, and sometimes I like. Here's a secret: like I draw them. You're drawing the comic in sequence,
yeah,
but I may post them out of sequence, so just to throw off the continuity is so no one can. It's not like they're reading the book every time I post.
yeah.
So I post the
So
image and
like, oh, this is what's happening.
yeah. So like I may post an image and 3 days later I may post like the page that's 3 pages earlier. Um, but you know what? You know what I learned because with the internet where you're never sure. Like, well, I don't want to show too much.
Yeah,
But when you think about it, I just go by myself, my bad memory. Like I see stuff on like you see a trailer right for a movie.
yeah,
You see it 6 months before, and you see the little scenes and you see it, and then when you sit down to watch the movie, I have never ever pulled out of the movie like thinking this is that scene from the trailer. You're lost in the movie. So I'm
yeah,
sure with previews of a comic, I show pages. Oh, that's really cool, this and that. But once the comic comes out and they start reading it, I really doubt people. I know I don't. I don't sit there and go, oh, there's that. Maybe once there might be one image like, oh, I remember I saw that. But so I don't think there's any fear of like showing too much. And besides, I
yeah,
don't show the dialogue. I only show the art. Like because I do the
yeah,
dialogue.
yeah,
So, but people are getting a flavor like, oh, this is a horror. This one's more like horror based.
yeah.
You know. But yeah, people are not going to really because think about it. Let's say we see a movie. Think of do you ever think of the trailer during the movie? No, because you're lost in the film.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
sometimes they screw up on a trailer, like the Terminator Genesis, where at
Yeah,
the end of the trailer you see John Connor's the bad guy. I'm like, really? You want to put that in the trailer? That was idiotic. Idiotic.
uh,
Anyway,
yeah. And I do have one last question. I think we
yes.
can sign off on that one. Do you have any advice for creators trying to get into field, or Latino creators or any other creators just like trying to start out, trying to like
Well,
get involved in comics?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if they mean like, oh, they want to try to get a job at Marvel and Dark Horse, or they just want to make their own comic. The easy part is,
I think if you're just making your own,
well,
just starting at all.
that's the easy part. You just do it. I mean, really,
True.
like you really. I know it sounds so easy and cliche, like just do it, like Nike said. But the only way
Yeah.
you're gonna get that I mean, again, if you want to put it online, that's fine. But I always talk about like holding the comic in your hand. If you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to comic, pull it out of the box, like, hey, I made this comic, it's printed, it's done, it's ready to be sold. You just got to work on it. Even a web comic, you just have to produce it. You have to make it. You have to come up with it. The easiest thing is to put it online, right? I've seen
hmm
people do Instagram comics, like they format it
yeah,
so it's square shape and put it up and be consistent. If you want to print it, do the whole thing, whatever it's a 10-page book or a 100-page book. Print it if you want a print book, and then think about where you're going to sell it.
yeah,
The thing is, though, whatever you do, like when you put it online or you go do your first show and no one buys it, or you sell one copy, you're either going to get defeated yourself. You're going to make yourself
yeah, yeah,
quit, or you're going to keep going with it. So I never stopped. You know what I mean? I've had shows
yeah.
where it's like, crickets. You're at a small show or a big show, and no one comes by your table every once in a while. You're there for 8 hours. I sold one book today, or I sold 2 books.
Yeah.
But that's just one show, right? That's just suppose there was 1,000 people at that show. Okay, well, 1,000 people, one person bought it. So go to another 1,000 people, go to another show, right? And then
Yeah.
that's the only I can. That's the advice I have. I don't have any technical advice. Like,
Yeah.
you can go on YouTube and find how to draw, how to ink.
Yeah.
To me, it'd be worthless for me to give you any advice because you're gonna draw how you draw, I draw how I draw. So that's not the
Yeah.
advice I give. The advice I think is helpful is once you put the book out, be prepared to stick it out on the long run. If that's if you really want to keep that book out there and start
Yeah.
making a name for yourself and get an audience for your book. So you're either going to quit the first day, the second day, the fifth show, the 10th show, or you're going to, I don't know what the hump is like at one point. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing this because I got
Yeah.
over it. So all I can say is if you really want to keep at it, you really want to put your work out there, you really want to share your characters, your stories, you think they're worthwhile to share and produce and make and sacrifice for, like time and this and that,
Yeah.
then be prepared to put it out there. And
Tears.
it's blood, sweat. What did it say? Blood, blood,
Tears.
sweat, and
Yeah.
tears. Yeah, pour your
Yeah.
heart into the paper. So
Yeah. And
that's
I
the
do have some advice for if anyone just wants to like make a comic and they don't really know how, like I've been doing mini comics and like I've been like I'll make copies and I'll give them out and now I'm getting to the point like I want to sell these. I got a bunch of these.
yeah.
So do that. And if you want to know how to like, I mean it's easy, but if recently I've been looking on Amazon and finding these books on making zines. So
Yep.
I want to show these two. So they got some really good information
I had
for
that
what
one.
you mean, what's a zine, and make a zine. And this is written from the perspective of like a few people who made this company and put out zines. So you get some pretty cool information from their perspective and just kind of seeing how they did things. So like hey, the information is out there. It's up to you if you want it. It's there. If you really want to make comics or anything, it's up to you. Like I always say, make comics, not excuses. And
Yeah. It's
uh,
what's always helpful, I think, especially now with YouTube, is
mhm,
hearing interviews with creators.
yeah,
And again, for me, it's not the specific like technique or tools. Like, I mean, I honestly, I use a computer for my art, but it's boring for me to hear someone talk about like Photoshop and the tools like that. I mean, tutorials are great, and I'm sure they'll help you. But for me,
yeah,
just hearing someone kind of like what I was talking to you about, the struggle, doing that show, doing the second show, like that's very helpful to me to hear people do it, like how they did it, how they struggled, how they got through it. So look up interviews. I'm sure there's millions of interviews with whatever comic creator you like, or
yeah,
I like to watch a lot of filmmaker interviews. Francis
yeah,
Coppola, Martin Scorsese. Not because I'm making a movie, or even I work in their genre, like a gangster movie or whatever, a historical movie. But just hearing another artist talk about trying to do their story, create their version of whatever it is they're doing. That's helpful to me. So
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I like hearing like the behind the scenes and what they went through.
yeah,
Um, so where can we find you, Javi? We already mentioned a few
yeah.
places.
Again, I always push the Instagram because that seems to be everybody's go-to. At least it depends who you talk to, right? I still use Facebook. A lot of people are still on Facebook, even though people say, that's for old people." A lot of people still on there. So, yeah, go to the link
Yeah,
tree. But Javier Los Comics on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. So I don't know the exact names, but because one's like Javier F. Hernandez. I think that's Facebook. Javier period F period Hernandez. Twitter, I think it's just Javier Hernandez. But use the link tree that Frank, I think, put in the chat. That's helpful. Or go to, the link tree, or go to my blog, Havzilla, JAVZILLA.com. And on the right hand side, I do have the links for all my social networks. So, or you can email me if you have a question.
all right. And you guys can find me on Salazar Art Nation. There is a link tree in the description below. and I think I have it here, so I might as well just put it up. If you just go to this one, the Turaco Creative Cast, you can find my stuff. You can find Anna Raub stuff, and check out her videos. Check out she has a Gumroad and she has a Teespring store, and we also have a Teespring store for the Turaco Creative Cast, so you can get some shirts, mugs, and I think there's stickers on there. I want to see if I can make my own stickers here because like the ones up there are like $7. And like I can maybe make some at home. It's not that much for people. And that's it for this show. I do want to sign off with a little scripture. I'm just gonna paraphrase. I was looking this up today. Exodus 35 to 31 to 33. It talks about how creatives are called to do something. So it's a higher calling. Whatever it is that you want to do, it's coming from a higher calling. So like, just do it. Whatever it is, whether it's comics, whether it's painting, whether it's filmmaking, whether it just if it's in you, that was put in you. So use it, do it. You know, and I didn't mean to like turn this into a Bible study, but thanks for coming, Javi. Thanks for everyone who made it out. Shout out to Anna Rob. Check out her channel. We will be back next week because we are doing the bug cast. We had a challenge. If we can get Anna to 100 subscribers, we're gonna be eating some bugs on that stream, and we're gonna be talking about bugs and the science of eating bugs because it's something that she actually has a passion for and like survival and stuff like that. So we're gonna dedicate a whole show to that. So check that out. That's next week.
Wow, that's must see TV.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Frank, for having me on. It was wonderful talking with you. Yeah, because you were in the chat room when I was on the Artcasters, so that was kind of cool. You're here.
Yeah.
I want to say, Anna, sorry we missed you, but I'm sure I'll meet you one day. And I want to thank all the people who, I couldn't read everything, but yeah, some nice comments in there. Thanks for the questions and their they're nice comments they left. So, thanks everybody and anyone watching tonight. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. And we'll see you guys next time. Next Turaco time. Next Turaco